Hello, everybody. This is Gary. Today is October 18th, 2021. It is 5:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States in Rochester, New York. And this is my coping with schizophrenia vlog entry for today. And today I'm on to talk about how to deal with auditory hallucinations through listening to music. I'm going to read to you from an article from a website called Schizophrenia Advisor. It's psychiatryadvisor.com. And the article is dated March 6, 2019. And it's called Effects of Music on Symptoms of Schizophrenia by Corey Rodriguez, MA, LPC, HC. Those are her credentials. And the article begins. Approximately 60 to 80% of patients with schizophrenia spectrum disorders experience auditory hallucinations, which have been linked to high levels of anxiety, 75%, and severe depression, 60% in this population. In addition, auditory hallucinations are associated with increased risk of harming oneself or others, and they have a negative effect on all aspects of daily life, including work, self-care, and relationships. Quality of life is also significantly impaired in these patients. Auditory hallucinations persist in up to 50% of patients, despite their receiving pharmacological drug therapies, underscoring their need for additional intervention to address these symptoms. Several psychosocial techniques have demonstrated effectiveness in this regard, including music therapy, which has been associated with significant reduction in symptoms such as hallucinations in various studies. In a randomized controlled trial published online in August 2018 in Issues of Mental Health Nursing, researchers investigated the effects of music intervention on quality of life and symptoms in patients with schizophrenia and auditory hallucinations, which is hearing voices, who were being treated at a Turkish hospital. Of the 28 patients, 78.6% were women enrolled in the study. 14 were assigned to a music intervention based on the rast tonality of Turkish music, which is said to affect the body both physically and mentally, has effects on muscles, provides relaxation, and induces feelings of joy, peace, vitality, comfort, relief, and happiness. And 14 were assigned to a non-music control group. At discharge and follow-up, the results showed reduced scores on measures of hallucinations and positive formal thought, as well as total single assessment process scores in the experimental group compared with scores obtained during hospitalization. 6 months after discharge, quality of life scores had improved in multiple domains. Quote, in line with these results, listening to music may be recommended to cope with auditory hallucinations and to provide positive quality of life, the researchers concluded. A longitudinal study published in January 2018 in Frontiers in Neuroscience examined the effects of a classical music intervention on patients with schizophrenia who were assigned to a 1-month Mozart music intervention group or a no music group. Both groups were receiving treatment with antipsychotic drugs. The control group consisted of 19 healthy individuals. On the basis of functional magnetic resonance imaging, also known as MRI, and machine learning techniques, the results demonstrated that the music intervention was linked to increased functional connectivity in the dorsal anterior insula and posterior insula networks of the brain after 1 month, although the effects were not sustained at the 6-month follow-up. Together, these findings reveal that the insular cortex part of the brain could potentially be an important region in music intervention for patients with schizophrenia, thus improving the patient's psychiatric symptoms through normalizing the salience and sensor motor networks, the authors wrote. Psychiatry advisor checked in with the study co-author Cheng Lao, PhD, associate professor of neuroimaging and neuroengineering at the School of Life Science and Technology at the University of Electronic Science and Technology of China for further discussion about his study results and the broader topic of employing music in the treatment of schizophrenia. Dr. Lowe, in general, the data suggested that music may improve communication, social functioning, cognitive behavior, and emotion and mental disorders. In our study, we used non-invasive functional magnetic resonant imaging to investigate the effects of a classical music intervention in patients with schizophrenia and found that it normalized the functional connectivity of the insular part of the brain. Dysfunction in the insular part of the brain, which provides the basis for monitoring external environments and processing sensory information, may contribute to clinical symptoms in schizophrenia. Thus, the underlying mechanism of the music intervention may be related to its normalizing effects on insular function in schizophrenia. Psychiatry advisor asked this question: what do your recent findings add to our understanding of the effects of music on patients with schizophrenia? Dr. Lau answered, and I quote, "Our results indicate that music interventions can improve the integration of primary sensory motor information in patients with schizophrenia. If they have false processing of faces or voice information resulting from primary sensory motor deficits, the higher order system will relay inaccurate feedback and then lead to positive symptoms. Thus, the music intervention might help regulate the bottom-up processing of input and thus improve the overall clinical symptoms in schizophrenia." Psychiatry advisor asked the question, what are the relevant treatment implications of these observations for clinicians? Dr. Lau answered, quote, "Music intervention may improve clinical symptoms in schizophrenia, especially for positive symptoms. Although these normalized effects are no longer sustained after 6 months, this represents a good option to improve the symptoms of schizophrenia in addition to a stable drug treatment strategy." Psychiatry advisor asked, what should the next steps be in terms of research in this area? Dr. Lau answered, quote, "First, the intervention should be studied in additional patients with schizophrenia to determine its efficacy, and optimal treatment design should be established. For example, a once-a-month music intervention with a 3-month break." And that's the end of the article. So the point of all this is that if you suffer from auditory hallucinations, that is, you hear voices, which is what usually is meant by auditory hallucinations, like I do, I hear voices telling me that people are following me, spying on me, trying to get me, that kind of thing. Listening to music helps control auditory hallucinations, or at the very least, drawing them out if you listen to music with earphones, and music affects certain sections of the brain, reducing auditory hallucinations. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving doctor advice. I am simply reading from an article that was published and done in a peer-reviewed setting. More research needs to be done, but my own personal music therapy experience has been that music lifts my mood, it distracts me from my voices that I hear, and it even reduces the intensity of the voices that I hear. Music therapy certainly isn't harmful to schizophrenics and could only improve the quality of their life. So like, share, subscribe, comment. If you want to help my channel, I will leave a link for financial contributions to my PayPal account in the description below this video. If you want to help my channel, share this video on social media like Facebook, Twitter, and other social media accounts. That's it for now.